Corey Kluber threw another no-hitter yesterday. It feels like it's what, the 6th, 7th, depending on whether or not you count Madison Bumgarner's. There have been a ton of no-hitters this year, and by some guys that you didn't expect. A Wade Miley. So it got me thinking, let's do a no-hitter video today, and let's talk about some of the most random players that have thrown no-hitters, or even perfect games. We got 2 guys on here that threw perfect games. Gonna give you 10 names of players that just, you should be surprised, shocked, just straight up random dudes who threw no-hitters. So if you guys do enjoy today's video, make sure you drop a like on it. If we hit 3,000 likes, I'll rank the 10 best no-hitters of all time. Subscribe to the channel if you guys have not yet done so. Click that sub button, join the team. Get in the comment section down below. Let me know who you think is going to be the most random player to throw a no-hitter this season. Drop me a follow on all my social media, GiraffeNeckMarc, links in the description. And we're back with SeatGeek. Use the promo code Giraffe at checkout. Save yourself $20 off your first purchase of any tickets that you need to a sporting event. So first, let's get started off with one of the most random players to throw a no-hitter recently, specifically Alec Mills of the Chicago Cubs. Alec Mills threw a no-hitter on September 13th in the 2020 season, which is just going to go down as one of the weirdest years to begin with. Against the Milwaukee Brewers, the Cubs won 12-0. He threw 114 pitches, striking out only 5, walking 3, and it was the 16th no-hitter in Cubs history. What's specifically weird about Alec Mills is that he's just not that great of a pitcher. Like, no one has ever said Alec Mills has no-hit stuff, and he has a pretty cool story. 22nd round pick by the Kansas City Royals in 2012. To see him throw no-hitters, cool. But even last year, in 11 starts, 62 1/3 innings, he only struck out 6.6 batters per 9 innings. He had 1.9 home runs per 9, which puts him at the highest rate among qualified National League starting pitchers, and his hits per 9 isn't particularly low either. He has a 1.155 whip on the season that year, and for his career, he has a 4.43 ERA, a whip at 1.215. He gives up a ton of home runs, gives up a fair amount of hits, almost 1 per inning, and he walks a bunch of guys. He doesn't have no-hitter stuff, and we've seen that in 2021 where he has a 5.96 ERA, a whip at 1.456. Like, to see Alec Mills throw a no-hitter has to be one of the most random in all of baseball history. Next up, this one happened against my New York Mets. It pains me, but on June 9th, 2015, we saw Chris Heston of the San Francisco Giants no-hit the New York Mets 5-0 at Citi Field, becoming the 22nd rookie pitcher since 1900 to throw a no-hitter. Surprisingly for Chris Heston, struck out 11, didn't walk a single batter, and the only 3 runners that were able to reach base that game were hit by a pitch. Just a weird no-hitter again in general. And it's even weirder because Chris Heston, well, he was the guy who did it. Chris Heston had a very short-lived major league career. 2015 was by far the best season of it, but after that, a 4.55 ERA in 4 seasons, 41 appearances, 33 starts, a whip at 1.428, didn't strike out a lot of guys, gave up almost a hit per inning for his career, walking dudes as well, giving up home runs, and even in that season, 2015, Chris Heston in 177 2/3 innings had a 3.95 ERA, a whip at 1.311. He gave up 169 hits in 177 innings. Somehow he went 9 innings without giving up a hit to the Mets in a year that they went to the World Series. Craziness. Like, this is another guy on this list who just didn't have this great MLB career, and while he did flirt with a no-hitter later in his career against the Padres, you never really saw Chris Heston as sharp as he was that night against the New York Mets. Add him to the list of random players. And in terms of Chris Heston, he's been out of professional baseball since 2018, but he threw a no-hitter. Technically, the guy's in the Hall of Fame. Moving to the 2013 season, Henderson Alvarez of the Miami Marlins. Yeah, probably a name that you might remember, but also you might not. He's very forgettable, had a forgettable major league career. He's another random player that threw a no-hitter on September 29, 2013, the final game of the Marlins season. Henderson Alvarez threw the 282nd no-hitter in Major League Baseball history. He allowed 3 base runners that game on an error, a walk, and a hit batter, as the Marlins walked it off in the 9th inning on a wild pitch. Weird game. That was sort of the coming out party for Henderson Alvarez, because in 2014, he by far had the best season of his career. He was an all-star, finished 12th in Cy Young voting, a 12-7 record in 30 starts, 2.65 ERA, a whip at 1.235, pitching in 187 innings, 3 complete game shutouts. This guy had the ability for some reason to go the distance and be filthy despite not striking anybody out. He had a career K per 9 of 4.7. He also had a career hit per 9 of 9.5. He just simply didn't walk guys and really didn't give up too many homers. But Henderson Alvarez, like many of the guys on this list, was just a random player that threw a no-hitter. His career was short-lived, 6 seasons long, 95 starts. Not that bad, 3.82 ERA, a whip at 1.298. By no means a stud or an ace, but at times Henderson Alvarez pitched lights out, and that's what he did with the Marlins in 2013. Alvarez has been attempting a comeback in Major League Baseball for the last few years. He even followed me on Twitter because he thought I was going to be able to help. But between some difficult stints in the minors in 2018 and 19 and hovering around independent ball in 2020, Henderson Alvarez has still not found his way back to Major League Baseball despite being only 31 years old. Not sure why. I would think even as like a reliever it could work, but right now Henderson Alvarez still out of baseball. A very, very random player that threw a no-hitter for sure. Now this next player is crazy. This has to be the most random player to ever throw a perfect game, let alone a no-hitter. It's Philip Philip Humber. On April 21st, 2012, Philip Humber threw a perfect game against the Seattle Mariners, retiring all 27 batters he faced. White Sox, of course, won 4-0. 21st perfect game in Major League Baseball history, and it was the third by a White Sox player. Humber was a New York Mets prospect. They drafted him in the first round back in 2004, and he was most well known for being traded for Johan Santana. But that's kind of it for Humber's career. Also, sorry, I called him Humber. It's Humber. Besides the perfect game, that's about it. Over 8 seasons. And let's give credit where credit is due. He had a good perfect game, 9 innings, 9 strikeouts. Pretty solid. But for the rest of his career, Philip Humber was lackluster. 2011 was his best year. We had a 3.75 ERA with the White Sox, but go figure, didn't throw the perfect game then. 2020, he had a horrendous year. 6.44 ERA in 26 appearances, 16 starts. He gave up more hits than innings pitched. He walked almost 4 batters per 9 innings, didn't strike out anybody, and gave up 23 homers in 102 innings. He arguably had a horrendous year, but you just sprinkle in a perfect game there for Philip Humber, and it's one of the weirdest, most random players to ever do it. Humber went on to pitch in 2013 with the Houston Astros, made 17 appearances, a 7.9 ERA in 54 2/3 innings, and hasn't been in Major League Baseball since. For his career, 5.31 ERA, a whip at 1.42. He just wasn't that good, but this guy threw a perfect game and a no-hitter, and Philip Humber has to be the most random player of all time to do it. The Edwin Jackson no-hitter is wild. Crazy. On June 25th, 2010, Edwin Jackson no-hit his former team, the Tampa Bay Rays, 1-0 at Tropicana. He became the first pitcher to no-hit a former team since Philadelphia Philly. Terry Mulholland did it back in 1990 against the San Francisco Giants, and he was only the second no-hitter in Diamondbacks history. What made this no-hitter particularly weird is that Edwin Jackson walked 8 guys in this game. He almost put a base runner on every single inning. It was arguably one of the worst no-hitters of all time. But Edwin Jackson got it done. He threw a no-hitter somehow. I don't understand how. Now, Edwin Jackson has a very long and very strange Major League Baseball career. He's actually played 17 years in Major League Baseball, but has an ERA at 4.78, a whip at 1.466 for his career, a losing record, but almost 2,000 innings pitched. For his career, he has a hit per 9 of 9.6, a walk per 9 of 3.6. He's given up more than a home run per 9 innings pitched, and has struck out only about 6.9 guys per 9. By no means has Edwin Jackson's stuff ever been stellar. And arguably, even in 2010, Edwin Jackson's no-hitter wasn't even that good. That season, he went from the Arizona Diamondbacks to the White Sox. He split time between them, 32 starts, 209 innings. That's impressive. 4.47 ERA, a whip at 1.395, giving up 9.2 hits per 9, 3.4 walks per 9, 7.8 strikeouts per 9. The biggest thing for Edwin Jackson is that he could give you innings, but he was never this no-hit guy outside of that game. Also, fun fact to know about Edwin Jackson. He has played for more Major League teams than any other player in Major League history, playing for 14. Unbelievable. And that's a guy who threw a no-hitter. Also, another fun fact about Edwin Jackson, born in Germany. We're throwing out all the fun facts because this dude is about as random as it gets. But he threw a no-hitter. Another San Francisco Giant making today's video, Jonathan Sanchez throwing a no-hitter. Giants kind of just did this for a bit. That's why they were so good in the 2010s. They just would pull these guys out of nowhere. And what's crazy about Jonathan Sanchez's no-hitter is that he was a spot starter that day. Randy Johnson was supposed to make this start back in 2009, but because he strained his shoulder, Jonathan Sanchez was given the start. And in that game, he not only threw his first complete game of his career and shutout, he threw a no-hitter, becoming the first Giants pitcher to do so since John Montefusco no-hit the Atlanta Braves in 1976. He struck out 11 batters that game and actually had a perfect game going into the 8th inning, but Juan Uribe made an error, and that was the only base runner of the night. So it was a pretty dominant performance, and for Jonathan Sanchez's career, he had good stuff and had shown it at times. In 2010, he had a fantastic year, 3.07 ERA, 193 innings pitched in 34 appearances, 33 starts. He had a Major League Baseball low 6.6 walks per 9 while still walking a ton, led the majors in walks with 96, but he was striking guys out. He actually had a pretty good season. Jonathan Sanchez, though, didn't really hang around much in the majors. From 2006 to 2013, 8 seasons, 4.7 ERA, a whip at 1.464, striking out 9.1 batters per 9 innings, giving up 8.2 hits, walking 5 and 1 home run. He just wasn't that good, but he also wasn't that bad. And at 38 years old, Jonathan Sanchez is still going. He was active with a Mexican team back in 2019 and pitched in the Puerto Rican Winter League in 2019 and 2020, so he's still trying to throw a little bit. Maybe a comeback's on the horizon. With a major league team, probably not. He's been out of professional baseball in America since 2014, but he's still hanging around the winter leagues, and he even pitched in Mexico in 2019, so who knows for Jonathan Sanchez. But go figure, the Giants have 2 guys on this list that are just some of the most random no-hitters in Major League Baseball. I mean, Jonathan Sanchez wasn't even supposed to start the game. He threw a no-hitter. Wild stuff. We've got a new player as the most random guy to throw a no-hitter in Major League Baseball, easily the #1 choice, Bud Smith of the St. Louis Cardinals. We're going all the way back to 2001 here, where Bud Smith threw a no-hitter against the San Diego Padres, won 4-0 on September 3rd, 2001. He walked 4 batters, didn't give up a single hit, and threw 134 pitches in that game. And it was said that Dave Duncan, the Cardinals pitching coach at the time, was hoping that this no-hitter would get broken up because he was worried about the high pitch count on Bud Smith's arm in his rookie season. And honestly, Bud Smith had a somewhat impressive rookie year. In 16 appearances, 14 starts, a 3.83 ERA and 84 2/3 innings pitched, a 1.217 whip, striking out 6.3 batters per nine, walking 2.6, 1.3 homers, and 8.4 hits per nine. So he was by no means disgusting, but it was good enough to get him 4th in the Rookie of the Year voting. But here's where it gets weird. 2002, he only made 11 appearances, 10 starts, 48 innings pitched, had a 6.94 ERA, a whip at 1.854, and we never saw him in Major League Baseball again. After the 2002 season, he was done. He was traded to the Philadelphia Phillies along with Placido Polanco and Mike Timlin for Scott Rowland and Doug Nickel, and he never made an appearance again. He tried to come back in 2004 with the Minnesota Twins, but that was it. Bud Smith was out of baseball only like a few years after throwing a no-hitter, and then even after that no-hitter, Bud Smith only made 13 starts in Major League Baseball. Easily the most random no-hitter in Major League Baseball. Sorry, Philip Humber. Bud Smith wins this one here. Dude disappeared. He was last seen in 2007 pitching for the Long Beach Armada in the Golden Baseball League. Yep, that's all I got on Bud Smith. The St. Louis Cardinals 2 years earlier had another random rookie throw a no-hitter, and that'd be Jose Jimenez. Wow, I can't actually believe I'm reading this. So on June 25th, Jose Jimenez threw a no-hitter against the Arizona Diamondbacks, going up against Randy Johnson, beat them 1-0, 9 innings, 8 strikeouts, 2 walks, 1 hit by bat. By the way, going into this game, he had a 6.69 ERA. Nice, but also not nice. That's pretty terrible. He had a start in between where he got absolutely shelled by the Astros, and then he made another start against the Arizona Diamondbacks, going up against Randy Johnson again, and then threw a shutout in that game. 9 innings, 2 hits, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts. This guy needs to pitch against Randy Johnson for his entire career, because apparently when he did, he was disgusting. That's actually so crazy. So besides the fact that Jose Jimenez is just random to begin with, throw no-hitter, he did it against Randy Johnson, and then the next time he faced the Diamondbacks was against Randy Johnson, and he almost did it again. For his career, Jose Jimenez, not great. In that 1999 season, he had a 5.85 ERA. He was 5-14, a whip at 1.497. He was genuinely not good, and for his career, he wasn't very good. 7 seasons, 24-44 record, 4.92 ERA. He became a closer after the 1999 season and got 110 saves in his career. Oh my goodness. A 1.454 whip for his career, 5.5 strikeouts per nine, 9.9 hits per nine, walking 3.2 and giving up under a homer. He was genuinely not a good pitcher, but for some reason against the Arizona Diamondbacks, he owned them, and specifically when Randy Johnson pitched. That is one of the weirder no-hitters I've ever read about. This dude was crazy. Jose Jimenez, welcome to the video. For the second to last player of today's video, let's talk about Dallas Braden's perfect game. On May 9th, 2010, Mother's Day, Dallas Braden threw a perfect game as a member of the Oakland A's against the Tampa Bay Rays. This game was particularly memorable, particularly cool, because Dallas Braden, who grew up with his grandmother, Peggy, who raised him after his mother died of cancer, was at the game. It was a very heartfelt moment. Braden, of course, might be even more famous now for working with Barstool, but at the time, Dallas Braden was kind of unheard of. He wasn't this crazy big pitcher, and he even came out later and said that he was hungover during this game. He said, "The night before Mother's Day, though, I did partake in libations of adult beverages. We were getting after it a little bit." That is crazy. The video coordinator of the team noted that you can recognize when a guy is hurting a little bit in the morning, and I knew he'd probably had a night out. He didn't do his normal 2-hour study that morning. Dallas Braden threw a perfect game hungover. That's hilarious on Mother's Day. So yes, one of the cooler perfect games in Major League history. He was absolutely dominant, striking out 6, of course not giving up a single hit, but for Dallas Braden's career, he wasn't much of a pitcher. He was fine. Definitely not a guy you would expect to throw a no-hitter. 5 years in Major League Baseball, 94 games, 79 starts, 4.16 ERA, a 1.325 whip, gave up 9.3 hits per nine over his career, 2.6 walks, striking out only 5.6, and giving up 0.8 home runs per 9 innings. He by no means typically had no-hit perfect game kind of stuff, but in that 2010 season, he was fantastic. You can't deny that. 30 starts, he had 5 complete games, 2 for shutouts, 3.5 ERA, a 1.157 whip. He was fantastic that year. But before and even after, he was just kind of fine. He was your middle-of-the-pack starter, almost Mark Burley-like, where he was pitching to contact, getting soft hits. He did what he did well. But to see a perfect game out of him, especially knowing that he was hungover, that's what makes this one of the most random players to do it. And of course, now you can find him at Barstool, and he's one of the best guys on Twitter. So drop him a follow if you're active on social media. But Dallas Braden, you're going on my most random no-hitter / perfect game video list. And then for my last and final player, most random guy to throw a no-hitter, Alec Milton, who did it with the Minnesota Twins back in 1999. On September 11th, 1999, he struck out 13 batters in a 7-0 no-hitter against the Anaheim Angels at the time, which was the 5th no-hitter in Twins history. What makes this particularly interesting is that Alec Milton wasn't very good. This was his second year in Major League Baseball after a rough rookie season where he had a 5.64 ERA in 32 starts, a whip at 1.538, and go figure, the season that he threw a no-hitter might have been the best, and it still wasn't that good. 35 34 starts, 7-11 record, 4.49 ERA. He had 5 complete games, 2 of which were shutouts that season, 206 innings pitched, a 1.226 whip, struck out 7.1 batters per 9 that year, 8.3 hits, 1.2 homers, and 2.7 walks. Eric Milton just didn't have particularly electric stuff. He was a guy who just kind of went out there every 5 days and ate some innings for you. His main trait was that he was reliable and he'd give you 5 and keep you in the games, but by no means was Eric Milton the stud pitcher, a one-time All-Star in 2001 with some mediocre stats to say the least. He's been out of Major League Baseball since 2009, and he was last seen coaching the University of Maryland as an interim head coach. But for Eric Milton, a pretty mediocre career, not a lot to talk about, but he does have the no-hitter to hang his hat on, and over his 11 seasons, a 4.99 ERA, a whip at 1.339, giving up 9.5 hits per 9, 6.4 strikeouts, 1.5 homers. He just kind of stuck around. Eric Milton, the last and final player in today's video for the most random guys to ever throw a no-hitter. So those are the most random players in my eyes that have thrown a no-hitter. Yes, it's really only like the last 20 or 30 years, but it's also really hard to find clips of some of these random players who threw them back in the day. But I still think that even in the last 20, 30 years, these are probably the most random players that have thrown it. I'd love to know who you guys think will be the most random player to throw a no-hitter in the comment section down below. Drop a like on the video if you want to see me rank the best no-hitters of all time, as well as subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of the content. Drop me a follow on all my social media, GiraffeNeckMarc, links in the description, and that's where I'm going to wrap up today's video. You guys know the drill from here on out. YouTube recommends you watch this video. This is my most recent upload. Click through those if you have not yet seen them. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow for another video. Bye.